that? Like, how did I do that? I was ready to fight if I had to. It's so crazy. Oh my God. I used to imagine like, maybe someday things in the States will get better. And it just keeps crumbling more and more. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. It is that time again where I drag the United States, because that's just kind of like a biannual thing that I do. I'm totally just kidding. I am not making this video to drag the US, but in the past I have made videos about how my life has been abroad since I've left the US, why I left the US, and how I have changed. I have been out for 4.5 years now. So this is just another update video. One big realization for me recently that I didn't really have in the past two videos where I talked about leaving the US is I realized I can't go back. I mean, I could, but why would I? And it's not just the reasoning of having, better healthcare or safety abroad. It's also reflecting on myself and realizing that I have changed so much that I just don't know if I can really re-immerse myself into US society. So I'm gonna talk about the ways that I feel I have drastically changed. I also wanna talk about how I'm surviving abroad. And I also wanna talk about the things that I have experienced living abroad that have really opened up the floodgates of a better life outside the US that are making it harder for me to decide if I would ever wanna go back. So let me give you a little bit of background. I have traveled to probably about 15 countries. In many of them, I have stayed at least a month or longer. I've lived in Taiwan for 2 years. I lived in Colombia for 6 months. I spent probably about 3 months total in the Philippines, and I've spent at least a month in South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Thailand. And for the first time in over a year, I will be going back to the States in a few months to see my family and some friends. And I'm not gonna lie, I usually have anxiety about going back to the States, but now it's like, it is up to here. So number one, I want to talk about why I think it would just be kind of hard to go back in general. I think there are a lot of habits and ways of being that I've picked up that I think serve me better as a human being and the people around me versus how it would be in the United States. So the first way I think that I have really changed is I have become a lot more patient. I don't get offended by things as easily. For example, when I first moved to Taiwan and somebody would like kind of lightly shove past me or they wouldn't say excuse me, I would be like very American about it, being like, bro, that's so rude. In the States, it's like you can't do that without it being rude. And like, I know you can just say like, excuse me, but like the level of offense we take to little things, like I'm afraid to anger somebody and not even be trying. I remember one time when I was in Philly, I was very intentionally trying to not cut this woman off while I was driving because I needed to merge. And I was so intentional about it, but she pulled up to me at the next light and rolled her window down and literally started screaming at me, calling me a dumb bitch because I cut her off when I tried so hard not to. This is like, oh. Another thing that has changed so much in me is that I now know what safety feels like. In the United States, I think in cities, it's hard to feel safe. But even in small towns and in the countryside, it's not technically safe. For example, the small town that my grandfather lives in, a woman broke into a couple's apartment and murdered them. It's like this normalization of just being like, this kind of stuff could happen anytime, anywhere. Like I don't do that anymore. I used to live in Philadelphia and I'm just like, how did I do that? Like, how did I do that? I was ready to fight if I had to. It's so crazy. Oh my God. Why am I going back? This was my life before. And so this point of me knowing safety and just not being like able to really comprehend going back to this mindset leads me to my next part of this point, is how Americans just like are so desensitized to these things and we just talk about them so casually, and like I'm just not about it. Because, I mean, we all know it's wrong. We all wish these things would change. I'm not saying like Americans just love accepting these horrific things, but some of us are so desensitized and normalize it. Like, I'm not used to that stuff anymore. So the next thing I want to talk about is self-care and healthcare. I've talked about the Taiwanese healthcare system, and that changed everything for me. When I was exposed to a functional healthcare system that didn't give me insane anxiety or like scare me. Like, how can you go back to the US and be like, yeah, this is fine. Sorry, they're letting off fireworks. And even since leaving Taiwan, there are 2 things that I do to manage my healthcare. So number one, for routine checkups, I've paid out of pocket for blood tests, dental work, And those were even cheaper than like the copay I would pay in the US with insurance. But what happens if I get a serious illness or get in an accident, and it might be quite costly to pay out of pocket? And that's where SafetyWing Nomad medical travel insurance comes in. I've actually been a customer of theirs since 2019, and I only took a break in 2020 and 2021 when I was living in Taiwan and had the national health insurance. And as soon as I left Taiwan, I was back with SafetyWing. I trust them because in 2019, I was traveling in Panama and I got sick and I had to get some tests done, all of which SafetyWing covered. With this positive experience and rates starting at $56 for 4 weeks, I decided to stick with them because it gives me peace of mind as I travel, especially as somebody that loves the outdoors doing things like surfing and hiking. I'm also covered with incidents at the airport, such as a case of missed checked luggage for up to $3,000. And one of the best parts for me as somebody that is moving around a lot is that I don't need to inform SafetyWing of where I am going, and their coverage applies in 185 countries. As somebody that's been with them for years, I really do recommend SafetyWing's travel medical nomad insurance. You can check the link in the description or in the top pinned comment to get more information. As you are traveling around the globe, it's so important to be able to cover yourself in the case of emergencies, and I have been covered this whole time. Now, another thing that has been super huge when it comes to self-care, especially living in Asia, is getting things like massages. In the States, it is such a luxury to get a massage, yet they are so incredibly beneficial. Like, they're so necessary, I think, for people. Like, we have all these crazy muscles in our bodies, and we're like, they're always doing all this work for us. I just think it's frustrating how these things that can be so beneficial to us have to be seen as some expensive luxury in the United States. Okay, it is relaxing and enjoyable to get a massage for most people, but it's also kind of like a medical need because it can truly help your body heal from things. It's been really interesting for me to be in countries that put value on these types of things because I've gone for massages so many times. It's like now I know the wonders that they can work. I think just accessibility to these types of medicine is really important to be able to take care of yourself. The next thing I want to talk about is food. In the US, if you want to eat healthy, you gotta have money. Like, yeah, you can buy fruits and vegetables that are considered cheap, but to be honest, having spent a lot of time in places like Vietnam, Taiwan, Colombia, fruit is not only abundant because the earth provides it because of, the geography and the weather, but it's affordable. For me, being able to go to a market where you're seeing just local people like set up with their shop outside is also a really cool experience. And they might not even be selling just fruits and vegetables, they might be selling all sort of other things. And I think I like the idea kind of like mom and pop shops, right? Where the US, we don't really have as many of those. You might have your Saturday farmers market, but in like Vietnam, like you just walk down the street and there's like a whole just street of vendors selling, fresh fruits and veg there. Here in Taiwan, you literally have 24/7 fruit shops. And the thing is that the price difference between healthy food and like normal food is just not as big in the US. In the US, you have your like cheaper supermarkets, and then there's like Whole Foods or Sprouts or something like that where they're selling things that are just so expensive. Eating healthy in the States is definitely possible, but at the same time there is more limited accessibility, whether it be the products themselves or financial accessibility. So yeah, like just being able to kind of experience these things that they have in other countries, and also just be like, wow, look at the earth here, look at what it gives you guys. The next one being, I don't even know how to reintegrate into the US. I think about, okay, I have to find a place and pay a very expensive rent. As a freelancer, I'm gonna have to hustle harder than ever, especially if I actually do want to, be financially abundant and not just, making money to make ends meet. How do I get healthcare? I don't even want to do that. But with that said, it's like, to do those things and to, live a life where you can actually enjoy a lot of things, I think you have to get a full-time job, or you have to hustle super hard if you are a freelancer like I am. I just think it's very frustrating that our system does not encourage us to be independent, to do our own businesses. Like, they do say you can do whatever you want and be whoever you want to be, But if you are building a business or if you are a freelancer, you're paying more taxes on that. And you also are gonna have to get your own health insurance because you're not gonna have an employer to provide it for you. So yeah, this mindset for me is not really my thing. Now, to be fair, in other countries, this is also a very similar mindset. I do know that in many countries, they are like, okay, you get one full-time job, and some places they're working 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that isn't just like an American mindset when it comes to working, but I do think that if you're from another country and you decide that you want to be a business owner, I don't think that means sacrificing having a healthcare plan, which for us, that's why we get a full-time job. So I'm just like not really into this mindset. And the last thing, politics. Yo, what is going on, you guys? Like, what is going on? I remember we all thought 2016 was crazy. And then we thought 2020, we were like, how could this get crazier? Well, 2024, you thought it couldn't get crazier? Guys, oh my God, there's so much going on. There's so much going on. And at this point, it's like, it's so hard to even like lean anyway. I know politics are crazy all around the world, okay? But when you're the biggest country that the world is looking at when it comes to making decisions that can change how the world systems play out, and this is what you're looking at, it's embarrassing, you guys. Being away from the United States, I feel so much less involved in our politics, and it's not that I don't care, but being out of the system, a lot of those choices do not affect me, right? Like, for example, Roe versus Wade. Like, I am no longer at least affected by that living outside. But with that said, I still very, very much care because my own people might have to suffer because of it. I used to imagine like maybe someday things in the States will get better when it comes to having better healthcare and more safety. And it just keeps crumbling more and more. Legitimately, sometimes I'm like, I wish felt like I could go live in my own country, and I cannot. So yeah, being able to not be living in the US as the political situations just get more and more like unreal, yet very real. It's a lot better for my mental health. It's hard. I'm not even trying to get on here to like really talk too much about politics. So y'all, I enjoyed giving you my 4.5 year update since leaving the US and just how things are kind of going, how I'm surviving, and the reasons why I really don't think I can go back to the US. And if you are from the US and you're looking to live abroad, travel more, like leave any questions in the comment section and I'm totally happy to answer them and talk about, what it's like outside of the US and the things that you can kind of expect. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more travel content, please subscribe to the channel, or you can also find me on Instagram at Kayla Cosmos, where I'm just posting a lot of like travel tips and destinations. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.